Hi, this is Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of RegAlytics, with your update on this week's 40,006 regulatory alerts. I'm talking to you today from what is known in my family as the Garage-Mahal. As many of you know, I'm the eighth of 9 children, and in addition to having a penchant for many kids, my parents love cars, and specifically Alfa Romeos. My dad, in fact, started the Pacific Northwest Alfa Romeo Club, which leads nicely into our topic of the week, which is space regulation, where machinery and mechanics are still in high demand. So we start episode 2 of the RegAlytics breakdown of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and like last time, I will warn you, I am not an accountant. I passed the New York bar, but immediately retired, so I'm also not a lawyer. And also, I read all 870 pages of the One Big Beautiful Bill as a human person who happens to love regulation. And here's my take on what is interesting that the media isn't talking about. So, the regulator of the week is Kazakhstan. Why Kazakhstan, you ask? Well, in RegAlytics, the most heavy mention of Kazakhstan is undoubtedly from Chinese regulatory sources. Meanwhile, a front-page article in the New York Times puzzled over the 25% tariff on a country that rarely imports into the U.S. and in fact has been historically courted by the U.S. to do more trade with us because we want their critical minerals and we want them to not go to Russia and China. But the tactic, which seems counterintuitive, seems to be working because even though only 5% of the goods being imported, which is under $100 million, Kazakhstan has written a letter for negotiation, largely because it does see the U.S. as an alternative market to Russia and China for its critical minerals. But the reason I picked Kazakhstan as the regulator of the week is actually because of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, which is a spaceport operated by Russia within Kazakhstan. It's located in the Kazakh city of Baikonur. It is the largest operational space launch facility in terms of area. And while all Russian crewed space flights are launched from there and U.S. space flights are not launched there, the International Launch Service is a U.S. company that sends U.S. astronauts to the International Space Station via Baikonur. Which leads us to the topic of the week, which is the One Big Beautiful Bill and its impact to space exploration. Section 20306, Special Appropriations for Mars Missions, Artemis Missions, and Moon to Mars program, and I'm quoting the bill here, in general, in addition to the amounts otherwise available, there is appropriated to the administration for fiscal year 2025, out of any money in Treasury that is not otherwise appropriated, $9,995 million to remain available until September 30th of 2032 to use as follows. So the summary. Money is going to the Artemis mission, which is a mission to get humans to the moon and eventually to Mars. The Lunar Gateway is kind of like the International Space Station, but it orbits the moon. And then the Mars sample return is basically getting dirt and rocks from Mars here on Earth. We have the rocks, the rover is there on Mars, but we need to get it back here to sample and test it. There's also a large chunk of infrastructure going to the FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Administration, the Office of Space Commerce, and of course, NASA. But here's the fun part. Section 40004, Space Launch and Re-Entry Licensing and Permitting User Fees. This is a brand new regime that is going to charge by the pound of payload for anyone to exit or enter space. The fee starts in 2026 and it is 25 cents per pound. And it slowly escalates to 2033 when it is $1.50 per pound. And after that, it goes up with the consumer price index every year. This is a definite departure from the status quo. It will cost the SpaceX's and the Deep Blues more money, but it does signal a robust regulatory regime and a plan for this market signifying that it's finally mature enough to be regulated as a commercial enterprise. And that's it this week for RegAlytics. We have the global supply chain of the world's regulatory alerts in one very easy to use place. If you need a solution for anything related to regulation, give us a call.